see you didn't get a new chair. Are you okay?
I did get a new chair. It's right there in a box.
You gotta put it together, huh?
Yep. Well, and I also have to, paint my room and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, and so that just stops the process altogether. You know that.
I know how it goes.
Before we start, what do you think about me cutting my hair?
Like, how cut?
Like really, really cut. I'm gonna send you a picture.
Yeah? Like to be a real dyke?
I knew you were gonna go there. See, so I hope you do post this part because these people are believing you are this ally, fun-loving. We told them about the carpet joke, okay?
It didn't make it. I don't remember hearing it when I played back the podcast.
Francis Arlene. Okay, well, we're gonna tell it again if it didn't make it, this pitch. That is an absolute tragedy. So I use this AI generator to see what I would look like with short hair.
Show it to me. Oh my god. I actually like it. That's my type right there.
Oh, put a beanie on and we're fucked.
Seriously.
Do you remember that happened at your house, that picture?
I didn't recognize it with your boy cut on.
I hate you so much. Yeah, there's a few more that are actually kind of funny. Hang on.
That's funny. Do it, dude. I don't think I've ever seen you with like, oh, I don't like that one. Not my type. Don't do that one. No. Oh my god, no. What are you doing? Dude, I need to do this just for fun. I'm gonna do this with myself.
Send me a picture of you. I have credits. I already found the cut.
Gotcha. Okay. So which one are you going with?
Neither.
Oh, wait, that's the first cut that I liked.
Well, it's just a different picture it's on.
Oh, I don't know why I don't like it there.
Well, probably because the picture, like this is the picture it was overlaid on. So it's not cute.
Do it, dude.
We'll see. I don't know. Everybody who like really knows me and loves me wants me to do it. And then everybody who's like kind of a friend, acquaintance was like, no, which is weird. Usually you would think that's reversed, right? Like your friends are willing to tell you like, no, don't do that shit. And then like my new friends are like, oh, no. I'm like, okay. Oh, they're all straight too. So there's that.
Yeah. Your new straight friends are trying to tell you to not be gay.
Gayer.
They're gayer.
It's like, I really think that there's this like societal model of what beauty is or what beautiful is that heteronormativity dictates. So it's like, no, your hair's long and beautiful. Why would you cut it short? Because that's just it's the natural inclination to say, no, why would you do the less desirable thing? It's just, it's interesting to me my whole life. So
it is weird. I mean, I think women in general go through a lot of that, just the stereotypical beauty. And I can't imagine what it's like to be a gay woman going through that.
What's interesting to me about it is my thoughts are all about, will this impact my professional development? Almost always. So it's the first time that I'm like, I have to interface with really rich people all the time. And so the less desirable I become as a woman, like I feel like the less successful I might be at work, which is like the first time I think in my life I've ever, one, cared about that, and two, I like that it was ever actually a concern. Because I always worked at like the real nonprofits, being tattooed and gay was the least of it. I feel that way now about the hair, and I want to dispel any of the, is she going through something? Like, is she stable enough to do this work?
I can see that. A lot of people say the first thing a woman typically does when she's going through something is cut her hair off. So just in itself, the psychology of that is a weird thing. I think most of the time it's like, this is change. Like any sort of change, and the one that you can see the most is somehow impactful,
Yeah, I agree. There's a group of guys in a predominantly female-led leadership team where I work, and we were walking out of one of our meetings, and one of the female directors got a haircut, and all the women were like, oh, you look so good. I love that. It's a great length for you. Oh, the color. And all the boys were like, oh, yeah, you look good. Like, they just don't even notice, right? And women are just so in tune with hair changes because we know either that's like the worst thing that ever happened to you and you're trying to get better, or like you wanted to change and you need to hear that you look great, right? Like, so either way. So I was walking with the guys. Every single one of them are married. And I met all of their wives. They're wonderful humans. And I'm like, guys, listen, if your wife ever comes home and has a drastic haircut, either go into the next room and hide or be incredibly sensitive about how it looks. And they're like, why? I said, especially if she went from no bangs to bangs.
It's over.
You better notice, bitch. I don't like, and they were like, are you serious? And I'm like, yes, I am very
Yeah.
serious. If your wife went from no bangs to bangs, or really long to really short, or something drastic, like hug her when she gets home and
Yeah.
tell her how beautiful she is.
No, it's for real. I've done
Just
it. Like, I've actually gone in my bathroom and cut my own hair off because I just need to change right fucking now. And then I make an appointment to go have my stylist fix it.
right, right.
That's just how I do.
So I was actually going to ask that because I think it's a real sign when you cut your own hair
Uh-huh.
or you give yourself bangs. Like that's a
I
whole
wouldn't
different
do that.
level of like you're like borderline suicidal, I think, when it gets there. I've never gotten there. No.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It's a love-hate relationship with my Alanis Morissette locks. This is
Mine
how long
too.
this is how long they get before I'm like, I'm gonna get it off. And then I get a trim at Supercuts.
Oh, no. I used to get my hair cut at Supercuts for a long, long time,
If I'm
actually.
just trying to get my ends off, why am I gonna spend,
I mean,
dollars?
I guess if you're just trying to get your ends off, but
That's all I ever
I'm
do.
usually doing like a layered thing because I want my hair to seem thicker, but
I can do that
it ain't.
too. I can, but I don't. I don't. And my eyebrows, I'm glad we're on camera because you can't really tell. They still have their general shape, but it's like old man serving you wonton soup at a Chinese, those old guys with the
Thank I needed to get the image in my head first. So thank you for that. I was like,
more
they're all straight up
wiry.
right here.
Yes, that's what they're doing. It's so bad. All right, let's get started.
That's
I don't
funny.
know if you want to have a funny intro or something, enjoy that. Okay.
I guess on our last one we had a wacky intro.
Did we?
We were talking about your tale and that led into Shallow Hal. So if you watch nothing from our podcast, at least go watch the opening of the last episode. Do yourself a favor.
You put my tail out there? I didn't know about
Whole 16 people that watched it. No.
that's for now.
Oh my god, should I kick my dog out? I feel bad for him. He's sick. I think he has pink eye from school. Seriously, I'm gonna send you a picture of him. He's a sad, sad dog today.
No, I don't hear him anymore.
I was able to cut it out on the last one. All right. So I
Cannot
don't know.
believe
There's
I can't believe you used it. I'm sorry. Now we have all my my asshole is out there. Okay. It's fine. I'll get over it.
it was good. I had to leave it in there. So let's talk about shit that's been going on. You said you wanted to talk about personal stuff, or you want to go get into the usual politics of it all?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we're beating dead horses most days.
Dude, I'm with you there.
It's like you can't keep up with the amount of bullshit happening. Like it really is one thing to another. I don't even know what to say anymore about it except we're living in some kind of twilight zone, it feels like. And I do think maybe a show about like the micro of humans because of a concept rather than what's actually going on, mostly just because of my own psyche. As for an example, and it's what we could do this next time or whatever. But as a concept, living in a system, are you, Fran, seeing changes in individuals or changes in people or your experiences in places because of what's happening? I don't know if I'm imagining things or if things and people are just becoming more empowered to be nasty. I don't know. Or I'm just thinking that's happening. It's like, do you feel empowered to say, you've never said something like that to me before? Like, what is that happening to you? I don't know if it's just me and my own reaction to what's happening, and then I'm seeing things that don't exist or seeing things that have always been there that now I'm just noticing.
I don't think you're alone in that. I think I've noticed it to some degree. I haven't noticed it personally. Like in person, I haven't seen people just out and about at work, at the grocery store, wherever. I see it on social media a lot. It's just one of those things where it's just put in front of you. So it's doing that polarization thing, where it's like, oh, well, this is all on my feed. So now I assume this is happening to everyone everywhere all the time. But is it? Because but I also live in a small rural town. And I would say, at least 90% of my neighborhood is Trump supporters.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't even think that they go around assuming that any neighbor is a liberal. you know? So no one's gonna just attack me because I'm a white woman that's left-leaning, they can't see it. I think I've even mentioned I would never even put a different candidate's flag in my yard. Not that, like, I'm afraid for my safety, I just think people would just be dicks, you know?
Well,
Like, I don't
I don't
think
know.
they'd physically hurt me, but I think they would, like, do a train horn by my house at 4 in the morning or something. So I don't know if it's happening so much or if we're just seeing it more because, it feeds the narrative.
Cool. Experiment. Put a trans flag out.
Okay,
See,
that
no,
would really get
please
them.
don't. Please don't do that. I love you and I want you here forever. But I bet you would see a reaction from that.
It wasn't even that long ago. Okay, so Andy and I have been married almost 18 years now. Christmas before last, his dad was over and hung out after everybody left, and we were just outside having drinks and talking or whatever. And I made some comment, and he goes, "Are you a liberal?" "Yeah, actually. Like, I do lean left." And he was like, "You've got to be kidding me. I had no idea." He was just shocked. I think he'd made a comment like, "But like you and I have conversations and we agree on so much." And I was like, "Yeah, there's a lot that we agree on." And even things that are going on right now when we're talking about cutting special programs and stuff, and I would imagine that if you ask both sides, "Do you want our taxpayer dollars to be efficient?" We would all say yes. But the idea of efficiency, like, who defines that? Like, is it the people, the individuals that actually need help, the lower and middle class, the folks that are having a hard time putting food on the table, those folks that need the assistance? Or are we saying it needs to be more efficient by not providing aid to other countries? Or using these program and job cuts to extend tax cuts to rich people? How is that efficient? Do we still believe in trickle down economics? Like,
No. I mean,
does either side think this works?
I don't think that we're doing much thinking at all, honestly. I feel like we have, and me too, we are so polarized that I don't even know that I can hear anybody anymore. I don't even know that I wanna even try to, and I know that they're probably feeling the same thing on the other side, except with the layer of victory, and I think that that right there, I think is the hardest part. Your candidate winning, like, you are so wrapped up in the ideology that you believe you won something. You believe you won by your candidate winning an election and doing all the things that he's doing, like, nobody's winning except Elon Musk and the like. And you feel like because of that sense of victory, you're not even gonna really look at how this is impacting your life until what, your wife loses her job because she works at the VA. There are people who voted for Trump losing their jobs in droves. And only now, only probably today after a really hard week, am I even willing to say I have some sympathy and empathy for those people because, like, even me, I would never have guessed that we were going to demolish agencies and federal jobs the way that we have. I could not have anticipated that.
Yeah, me either. Or go after national parks.
Truly, efficiency right now means how much can we cut and give to the rich? How much can we grab from everything that we don't value and put it in our own pockets? And that's what efficiency means right now. And I think that the people who are wrapped up in victory, my guy won, my side won, whiteness won, maleness won, all of I'm okay with feeling superior. Look, I was right. Like all of that, those reinforcing messages that people are getting, like you don't even know your values, your work, what you do is not being protected right now. It's not. And like I almost feel bad.
I've gone back and forth several times. There's like the hashtag FAFO, the fuck around and find out thing. Have you seen it?
No, I
Like,
have not seen that. What is this?
fuck around and find out. Well, social media kind of took over it once Trump first got into office. It kind of became this like, okay, we were in the fuck around phase and now we're in the find out phase. So a lot of the times people will post this stuff and it's like, oh, I can't believe this just happened to me. I voted for this administration, blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
if you read people's comments, some of these people are just being really mean. And I do feel sort of bad because For example, I was just reading a post the other day by a girl who needs IVF, and she voted for Trump.
I read the same thing.
He talked about lowering, or actually, he said that he would make IVF free.
Mhm.
And
Is this the girl with the federal job?
I don't know. Yes, because she lost her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, as somebody that has actually had to go through IVF, I had to cash out some 401k to do one cycle, which was ridiculous. I even lost 40% to taxes. Cool. And then the second time I refinanced my house to do a second round. So I know how expensive this is. And I can feel for her in her situation and believing that somehow this administration could change that for her and she could have a family. So I feel for her. And her point was that's why she voted for him. And then in the end, she doesn't even have a job now. Like, oh, and by the way, IVF isn't free. I think somebody else posted, like, oh, what are you guys going to say now? Because Trump just made IVF affordable. And I think sometimes there's a misunderstanding of what's happening and how much control he has by what he's doing. Because Trump did sign an executive order that recommended insurance companies make IVF accessible and affordable. It's an executive order, which only controls the executive branch. It
Mhm.
does not mandate that any insurance agency or any employer has to offer it. That does not control cost or accessibility or anything for IVF. So people that look at those things and think, oh, he just signed an executive order, that means XYZ is going to happen. You kind of need to understand what that means. That's not I would be surprised if I saw just all of a sudden every employer offering IVF. It's expensive. It's expensive coverage to add to policies. And
I mean, he
in
could
my line
mandate it
of
for federal jobs. Mhm. No, he's
yeah,
cutting those. He didn't give her IVF, he fired her. He has that power because federal jobs are under that purview.
there are times where I can understand why somebody voted the way they did, but you already knew this guy was a liar and a con man and was going to say whatever he needed to say on the campaign trail to get your vote. And I think if you kind of allow yourself to be used in that way, okay, maybe if this was 2017 and these were his promises and you were like, all right, cool, let me give him a chance, but we already knew these were lies. I'm going to end the war in 24 hours. He's done nothing but exacerbate shit. What are we talking about? So I have a hard time feeling bad.
Okay. This is an interesting role reversal.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm always the one that's like, oh my God, give everybody 500 opportunities and just try to understand their point of view. I think I'm over it, dude. It only took me a month.
Okay. But here's the thing, and this is where it's gonna get a little bit personal, but when I say a role change, like, you know how you said your father-in-law was like, "Oh my god, you're a liberal? I had no idea," right? And it was just like, and I know that this is not true for him or your family, I know that much more informed than most. I had the same experience with my in-laws, not mother or father-in-law, but sister-in-law, and I just remember her looking at me and going like I was an alien. Not like I have different views and that's strange. It's almost like I've never met one of those, was kind of the react and in that moment, I was like, "Well, she knows me, she loves me, we get along fine." And she found out this thing that is so strange that I'm not even sure she understands what that would mean as far as differences between us. Just because people, like, I know this. I intellectually, I know this, but to experience it close to home, like, I know that people grow up in places and there aren't choices of what you're gonna be. You just are. You grow up in rural, name the Midwestern state, and you're a Republican. You don't even know what it means not to be. I'm not even sure you know what it means to be a Republican. You just are because everybody is. And I knew this, I think, but to have an experience where like, well, I know her heart, I know how she treats people, I know like all these things, and it's just this definition almost. We're not actually tying these, not everywhere. A lot of people aren't actually tying these titles to values or to implications or consequences of these things. It just is. I'm from this family. This is what my family does. This is what my neighborhood does. This is what my community does. This is what I'm going to do. What's the change maker? What's the catalyst to change? I am a literal alien that showed up in her world. Maybe I can be a catalyst, fine, but before me, it doesn't exist for them. And with that, it gives me a ton more grace, a ton. And again, grace for my family or people who I consider family, always. And that's easier to do, probably like your father in law, I'm assuming. So that's just an example. But then I had another experience this past week at work. We're all going through a leadership program. And the one thing I can say about the people that I work with are that they have wonderful hearts. Like, I work with them day in and day out, and every time, every conversation is solution focused. How do we take care of the patient? There's nothing we're not going to do. We will use every resource to get those people. That's the only way we maintain that kind of culture, is the people in the room who have the same kind of value and heart. And these are some of the best people I know. But we had a conversation about social identities. Interesting, right? One of our episodes. And how that shows up in our work and how that looks different for the people that we serve, and how our social identities, ours particularly, can really lend to either the understanding or misunderstanding of the people we're meant to serve. And a comment was made about, well, I have a really harsh reaction to this social identity circle. And what it is basically your social identities and your proximity to power, which was the center. So in the center, it's heterosexual, white, male, right? Like all the social identities that we know are closer to power, right? Or at least I thought adopted that understanding. In a room full of incredibly successful humans, very well off humans. Like, I don't even mean wealthy, just humans. They're good hearts. They have good jobs. This is a wonderful place to work. Like, we couldn't even get to a place where we all agreed that if you're straight, male, and heterosexual, you have a closer proximity to power. And these are the people I work with every day. If somebody told me that that wasn't a foundational truth that we were working within, I had no idea. And so it tells me just how far we are. Because if there's any group of people that I thought would have this same perspective, understanding that your proximity to power, of course, is placed in our social identities, it just gave me this aha moment. Like, if this group doesn't have that as a foundational truth, no fucking group does. There's no way. And again, it's this bias that's happening. Like, of course people think like me. Of course people walk through this world like me. Of course people have had the same lessons as me. No, they haven't. They could be as well-meaning and big-hearted and all the things, and they could still have a really negative and harsh reaction to someone telling them that they are closer to proximity to power than some other people. And it's the privilege argument, right? Why people always want to say, oh, I have no privilege. I worked really hard for what I did. That's not what that is, right? It's not about how hard you worked for something. It's just natural advantages. That's what social identities are, or disadvantages. And I think that experience this past week, I'm like, I am making an adversary out of everyone. I have a lot more grace to give in the spaces that I work within, or that I live within, or that whatever. Because honestly, if I went off on them the way that I didn't want to in the space, but like in this space, when we talk about people don't even understand that white men have, how could they not believe that? But when you put faces to those, to the people that you actually care about, that you work with every day, that you're friends with every day, that's your father-in-law, mother-in-law, whatever it is, when you put faces to the people, you're like, I might be approaching this wrong. Because they don't want to hurt people. They want to help people. That's why they're there. So it was a really interesting thing that happened to me this week. I'll be back and bitching next week, I'm sure. But that's where the role reversal has come from today, anyway.
I can see how that can mess you up.
Yeah, it was a mindfuck for sure.
I think that also lends to how we see, understand, and interact with people on social media. And I think that's one of the big dangers there, is because it's not like a face to a person. It's just somebody's silly comment and you can attack them. They're not a person you know and have feelings for or any sort of care or concern about. So, I mean, I think that sort of thing definitely lends to the dangers of social media.
If we take a concept and we distill it down to like our lives, like if I decided that when I heard something I didn't like and I got that physiological reaction, like, what? and I was in a professional setting, so I'm wearing a different hat, like, I would never actually do that, but wow, had I said or delivered the message the way that I have on this podcast in that room or to that person, I love these people. They're my friends. Like, I work with them and I know their heart. And then when something hit them personally that gave them something that I felt like wasn't a desirable response, I rethought who they were completely, even though I've had over 2 years of experiences learning who they are. And so it really makes me wanna pause and say, "These are well-meaning people, and how many more of those people have I ostracized or pushed away from me because of what I've automatically assumed because of things that they've said?"
Yeah. So I actually, you probably don't know because you don't even watch our podcast. So
Right.
just FYI, we had an episode up for a short period of time and I took it down because I've already had that experience with people at work. And just like you said, it kind of gives you a different perspective of the people that you're interacting with. And knowing that you would talk to them differently than, like, you talk to strangers about any of this stuff. But on most things we agree. I think a lot of the time it's, like, getting there or how we get there or at what point we feel like we've reached the goal, those are different. But, like, the issues are basically the same. I think a lot of the times I did expect a different thing from certain people. And those people that I had a personal expectation of, I do treat them differently. And I am more rude to those people. And I don't mean to be. And I know that it's not the right way to do it. I mean, you're not going to get through to people by pissing them off or telling them, oh, you're dumb because you don't think like me. If somebody said that to me, I'd be like, well, fuck you. There's the door. Well, what do you think of that? You know, like I
And I know
already
that
know.
that's true.
Yeah, I've done it. But that's not I know that's not how you approach people, and yet here I am doing it. And
Doesn't the goal matter? So, like, I'm talking to these humans and my goal in this interaction is X. Is it ever to change their minds? Like, right, not necessarily. What is the goal in these conversations, I guess is my struggle. Like, I honestly don't engage in them because you know what's gonna happen, right? Like, whoever that person is, they and I are not going to part this conversation friendly. If they are asserting hateful things, and my goal is never going to be to change their mind, my goal is gonna be to separate myself. But my thought, I guess it depends on the proximity to me. Like, my coworkers, I don't expect them to vote to secure my marriage. They don't they don't care enough about me for me to be a deciding factor in their vote. And so I think maybe that's why I'm able to give grace because I can see these people's hearts in other scenarios and I can say, okay, well, you and I aren't close enough for me to apply this thing to you, right? So whatever. And then it's easier for me to see them as human and have dialogue and look for ways to bridge our differences for the greater good of our workplace and the people that we serve. Great, easy. Now apply this to you. Don't ever try to be a Republican. We won't make it. Like, it's just not a thing. Apply this to my father. Apply this to my sister. Apply this to people who are supposed to be in this world to care about me and me them. Like, I would never I can't think of legislation that could ever affect my father. That's not a thing. There's plenty that can affect me, and the idea that he's willing to vote not even just vote. It would be one thing if he just quietly went into a voting booth, okay? But to fangirl over Donald Trump when he's in Palm Beach County, like, what are you fangirling over? The person who instilled my values, the person who told me it's so important to be kind or you do what you can to help people, like, I became a fucking social worker. Like, that value set had to come from somewhere, and I'm assuming it was my parental figures. That same person right now is fangirling over the dude said he was gonna grab pussies and tried to create rumor mills about previous presidents and, like, he's psychopath, and you're fangirling over him. Like, that makes me short circuit.
I don't know. When it's people that are close to you that you have a relationship with, like your family, I think it feels more of a personal attack on you than just voting based on policy or principle or whatever. It's a whole.
It's a betrayal. That's how it feels. And
Mhm.
we keep using the word feel. It feels like a betrayal. It feels like my question to you is it? Is it actually a betrayal? I would argue yes, and that's why I don't have a relationship with these people.
I don't know. It's gosh, see, now I'm resorting back to my more of a
See?
Pollyanna state.
Well, now we're
I'm
going back and forth. We're like, we're
yeah,
switching
yeah.
roles.
You play bad cop, and then I'll play
Yeah.
bad cop,
Yeah, we're just
okay?
gonna keep doing it. Yeah.
Because I think there are a lot of other reasons that people voted for Trump and ignored those terrible things and voted against pretty much everything we fought for in the last 100 years. It's tough to say because I don't know that it's that black and white for them. I think some people, or I choose to give grace to some people, assuming that they voted in spite of those things for other reasons that, just were more pressing to them personally at the time. I think I mentioned it in like the first episode. Like it's my privilege to be able to be concerned and vote based on civil and human rights versus the promise of lower cost groceries, for example. Or I don't mind my taxes paying for the school in my neighborhood, even though I don't and will never have children that attend that place. Like, good. Give those kids a good education. Those kinds of things, in its own way, are a privilege for me to be able to be concerned with civil and human rights. You know what I mean?
So you started this by saying you give grace thinking that there were more important matters that they were voting for despite the human rights and
I don't believe that they're more important.
no, no,
I
no, you're
think
saying for
they
those
are to
people
them.
yeah,
Yes.
I think you're giving a lot of grace. I think a lot of people just went into the booth and voted the way that their white male hearts drove them to.
Well, so recently, I would say this last week, I've been kind of veering to that side because I've been looking more at how Trump does what he does, or gosh, I don't even know how to explain it. I think it had a lot to do with the interaction with Zelensky on Friday. Just looking at that interaction and how Trump approached it, what made me want to cry for my country is what I think a lot of people were like chest out about. That's a majority of people that voted for Trump. And that is exactly why they voted for Trump. And that's what I've been trying to understand a little more. Before Trump even got into office, like back when he was real estate developer and shit, I think he felt that other countries ripped off the USA. Like we've been in a rule-based order since after World War II. Essentially the set of like global rules, structured relationships between us and other countries based on, things like political liberalism. It's like our civil contract between us and other countries and how we're going to interact with each other and kind of help each other out. Before World War II, we were constantly fighting. We were trying to have territory, attempts at disarmament, economic instability like the Great Depression, the rise of fascism, aggressive nations that wanted to expand like Germany, Italy, Japan. These things that led to World War II basically. So the order was it was kind of like, hey, we can all do well together. We don't have to constantly be fighting each other. We don't have to have wars. No one has to try to take territory. We can share economics. We can have open markets, like international open markets, trade, travel amongst countries, like all kinds of things because of this order. But I feel like, or I think Trump feels like the US has been the sucker in this world order. You know what I mean? Like I say world order, but it's like a rules-based order amongst the world. And I think he wants to kind of reform the system so that the US is like the guy. the macho guy, the badass dominant that like no one would ever take advantage of. Like that's the macho masculine thing that I think Trump wants to get us to. Or I think he thinks that we have made ourselves weak by like these Western ideology things of liberalism and everyone can be happy, you know, we can all just be friends sort of idea in the world. I think he thinks that that makes us weak. Not only makes us weak, but that we limit ourselves and kind of restrain ourselves with things. So when we look at stuff like climate change, we are restricting ourselves in what we can do or what we're willing to do to the earth to like get minerals to make more money. He sees that as like a limitation. He just has that mindset that we've made ourselves weak, and the people that do boast him, not so much like the Republicans that vote based on policy, but the MAGA bros that are out there. But I don't know. I saw a quote. It was like the loudest person in the room is normally the weakest. And that's how I feel with this group. Like if you were strong and intelligent, you don't have to do that sort of stuff.
You
You
don't have
don't
to
have to
flex.
be a bully. Yeah.
You don't have to flex.
Yeah.
What's really funny is, of course, so many thoughts came through my head when you were talking. So, a post-war agreement made a head of state feel like a chump, which led to a series of domestic and international policy that make us seem stronger, manlier. Does this sound familiar? This is the Treaty of Versailles after World War I that was signed, had Germany feeling like a chump, that allowed Hitler to blame the Weimar Republic, which was the government system before the Reich.
Yeah.
And then everything that we're seeing right now, the disempowerment of groups, mass deportation, like you don't see
Yeah.
that, like no EDIA, no T in the LGBT anymore, no affirmative action. Women can't, you know what? This is bad. Now we're just going back. Like, how are we gonna fucking survive this? Is what just went in my head. Really, my asshole is just puckered, sitting here waiting. Like, God, please let us get through the next 3 years and however many fucking months. What's funny is that I think if you put that argument in front of one of these fucking MAGA bros, no, okay, whatever. That's not gonna happen. Or even worse, so wouldn't that be better? Like, I think there's a true misunderstanding of what the protections of democracy give us. And every time you lose any bit of that, you should be scared. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about this country. They give a fuck about how to put more money in their pockets. But there's so much evidence already that tells you this, but they're not looking at that. They're tough. We need to be tough. Big stick economics. Like, that didn't work.
It's a tough one because I think honestly that group of people and Trump, they do align more with leaders or dictators like Putin or Orban, the ones that believe the rise of multiculturalism and liberal democracy are a threat to what they believe is like what is American.
Seen as weakness.
Yeah. It's just crazy to think that like now the way we are ideologically, our allies should be Russia now.
That's what I said last week. Really?
Like
Right. And look at
they
look how we're fucking around with Ukraine. We're not even
seriously. I think Trump wants to like renegotiate our civil contract, if that's what we want to call it. But that also means, like you were saying, other countries are also reevaluating the US as an ally. We are on the wrong fucking side of history right now because our leaders are more like fucking Putin and Orban and like Hitler was. We have to be really careful right now to not allow that. I think most people think that I'm probably crazy. I'm dramatizing this a bit.
No, it is not. It's fact that Trump is on the phone with Putin many, many hours. It is fact that he treated Ukraine the way he did yesterday. Was it yesterday? Day before.
Friday.
Friday, yeah. Like, if you see that and you go, "Nah," then you're discounting what is actually factually in front of your face. And I've never been someone who believes in conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
I'm not someone who jumps into to that. And that's what this feels like saying these words feels like, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist," but, like, the facts actually lend to the idea that we are moving away from Western democratic values. Like, that's a scary notion. What happens if we don't have all really of Europe backing us? And on top of that, even if we are to shift ideologies and we go and we start to align with Putin, that means we're trusting Putin when we get into shit with our current allies? That's what you're like, "Yeah, dude, yeah, that's what's gonna happen." Or do you think that there might be longer term thinkers who use this to just take us down completely? This is very concerning to me, and I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think this is a very likely scenario.
There are just so many things happening. I don't know how anyone sees the interaction between Trump and Zelensky and Putin and don't go, "Oh, we're clearly in cahoots with Russia and against Ukraine." Trump just strikes me as the kind of person that really doesn't care. Like, he doesn't look at Ukraine as a country and go, "Oh, they need our help." He looks at just everything as like a business deal. So it's all about what can we get from Ukraine? What do they have? Well, they have some rare minerals. Cool. How do we get the rare minerals? Fuck the country. Who cares what happens to them? All right, our best route is actually Russia. Russia's occupied a lot of the area that has their rare minerals. So what are we just playing a game with democracy? Or actually, I want to go back. Ukraine broke away from the Soviet Union and declared independent from the Soviet Union in 91. At that time, they held the third largest nuclear arsenal in the world, including an estimated 1,900 strategic warheads, 176 international ballistic missiles, and 44 strategic bombers. If any country has that, the US is going to say, we need to form some sort of treaty because we can't allow you to have that much nuclear power. It could possibly become a threat to us. In 1994, the leaders of Ukraine, Russia, France, UK, and the US signed a memorandum that gave Ukraine security assurances. We created a treaty that said you have to give up your warheads. And for 3 years, like starting in 1991 when they became independent until 94 when it was signed, they were saying, no, we can't do that. Russia's still a threat. Russia's still a threat. We can't give up the only weapon we have because they're going to come right back for us. So after 3 years of negotiating, we created this strategic arms reduction treaty. In 94, the four parties signed it. Ukraine allowed Russia to dismantle their warheads, sold the uranium from these warheads to the US. By 96, Ukraine had returned all of its nuclear warheads to Russia in exchange for economic aid and security assurances. So then, fast forward 2022, Russia launches an invasion of Ukraine, begins occupying more of their country, starts the largest conflict in Europe since World War II. Wars resulted in a refugee crisis, tens of thousands of deaths. They've estimated around 20,000 children have been taken from Ukraine, and they're currently in Russia. And now, here's the United States breaking their promise to defend them. A lot of people now complain, we're giving money to Ukraine, we're assisting them with their war. Well, that was our fucking job. They gave up their entire arsenal because we said we would protect them and help them economically and with military force. And then did you see this? So this whole sit down was videotaped.
Mhm.
All of the media was there. It just became a fucking bully fight match thing. And Trump said he wanted the American people to see this. I mean, it felt like a total setup, a total trap to chest out, and say that he has no cards to play. Right after this, they allowed the media that was there to ask questions. And I heard that this guy that asked this question was Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend. And I don't know if that's true or not, but he's the epitome of douche that would be her boyfriend. You gotta go watch this guy. So anyway, he asked Trump a question about do you want to be known as the president of peace? Something along the lines. And then he follows up with a question to Zelensky about why do you never wear a suit? That was this reporter guy's question. So we're breaking our promise. And to top it all off, we now play up the asshole role by showing absolutely no compassion to a president whose country is at war, his people are dying, have had 20,000 kids taken from families. We're gonna dog him about not wearing a suit. Why the fuck does that matter?
Literally doesn't.
And where was this jackass when Elon Musk was in the White House with this 4-year-old like 2 weeks ago in a fucking t-shirt? And honestly, I think the kid was the best dressed out of both of them. So, like, where was this dude on that day? It's just so sad to see our country play this bully role.
I mean, it's kind of what we've always been, right?
Yes, but in
Except
like a
now we'd have someone who doesn't give a fuck about playing the games that veils it with suits and political talk. And I don't believe is savvy enough politically to understand the unintended consequences of what is happening. Like, I really don't. This is going to reverberate through the next several decades, and we're gonna have unintended consequences that we cannot even foresee. Even if we were to lean into conspiracy theories and think of the worst, we don't know. He's already done enough that's going to make irreparable harm in several areas of our government. I think it's the first time in my lifetime I'm scared. Like, I always believed in, like, a certain level of consistency, structure, foundation of who we are, what we're gonna do. There was always guidelines, guardrails, I guess, and what we're willing to do, and I think and he did this in real estate too. He so successful is just walking right through them and going, "What do you mean? I didn't walk right through them." And then he causes confusion. And the people that he's working with is like, "Well, are we crazy? No, we're not crazy. Are we crazy?" And then by then he's already trampled 4 more barriers. Like, this is what he did in real estate. It's what he's doing here. It's why our checks and balances are completely failing to hold him to any kind of standard of democracy. We say, "Oh, we have these checks and balances, and that gives us this foundational safety and truth of what it means to be an American citizen." Those are gone now.
and we're forcing our allies into renegotiating what has worked for us. We're gonna lose the relationships that we've built since the 40s, and I don't know what for. Like, what are we trying to get out of this? Really, is it just about more minerals? Or just being the big dog in the fucking playground? Like, money. Of course. I mean,
Power,
I know it's money. And
money,
the
power.
minerals itself is money. Like, who nobody cares about minerals. It's what the minerals make. Trump's been pushing for Ukraine to grant the US rights to their natural resources, which include these rare earth minerals. Some of them are good for building like electronics and weapons, but Ukraine doesn't have a huge deposit of those. What they do have a lot of are minerals like titanium and zirconium, which are good for aviation and the space industry. I think we could do an entire episode on all the things that are going on right now that are going to extremely benefit SpaceX.
I don't hate that idea.
Anyway, they also have graphite, which is good for EV batteries and nuclear reactors. And then they have a lot of lithium, which is, rechargeable batteries. In the US, I think we also want to have like more of a monopoly on these rare minerals. We want to have more of them than China because that's another flex, that gives us more power. I think Ukraine has 22 of the 50 minerals that we deem critical to the US. It's unclear with this deal that they intended to sign on Friday how much of them we would get. They're also like super expensive to mine. And Russia, like I said, Russia is occupying a lot of the area that has these minerals. So I think that's why on Friday Trump had the ability to bully Zelensky so much, saying you have no cards. They need us to help them with Russia and therefore have no bargaining chips.
But they shouldn't need them if there's an agreement because we bargained then to give them the protection they're calling for now. That is a social contract that he is breaking. We have the expectation that when we enter agreements, we honor them. He's fine trampling over that.
I don't know why anybody would have expected him to not like back out of promised contracts and
I
whatnot.
don't think but
That
his
doesn't mean any.
constituency doesn't want him to be a good guy.
No, they don't. They love that he's this bad guy, actually.
Yes.
And that's why I was saying I think this last week I've been turning a lot more to no, this is exactly what a lot of people voted for. This is exactly what they want. And maybe they have the idea that we need to be more of the powerhouse country. When you look at how this stuff is going to affect us, there's nothing America first about this. There's a lot more that goes into this than just making the good deal or whatever the fuck they say.
On a world stage, you're having our allies question our loyalties. That's a fucking dangerous notion, and you want to do it, and you feel tough guy because you're fucking bullying a country that existed for what, 30 years? Truthfully, I'm scared. He's gonna do whatever he's doing, not even recognizing what is actually trickling down to us, and it's gonna be too late. It's gonna be far too late when the social consequences and the environmental consequences actually hit the people.
Yeah.
He won't be president, he'll be 12 times as rich. Or maybe he will be. That's fucking scary. Honestly, just even as a notion.
I don't know. I'm really hopeful just because I've seen a lot of Republican town halls going on in different states, and the Republicans are really pissed off right now, which is good because they're the ones that are going to have to change their stance on this. Like, my main concern isn't that we get to this point where it's like 1930s Germany and everyone sees it and everyone knows exactly what's going on, and the leader of the country is clearly a dictator. I think it's gonna be more like exactly what we've been seeing with fucking Putin and Orban, Hungary and Russia, where they have these pretend democracies where they still hold an election, but your opponents die. If your media speaks out against you, they're fined into non-existence or they're just
He's
completely shut down. There's
he's
no free
already
media.
doing that. He's already saying which people can cover him and which can't.
I know.
They already control news and information. They're trying to buy AI. Of course, that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And they're, oh no, or why wouldn't that be so bad? Okay.
I was gonna pull up the definition of a fascist because it's like fucking textbook if you look at the definition.
Well, go ahead, pull them up. Pull up that and oligarchy.
I can't spell. It brought up facetious.
FASCIST, I think. FAC.
All right, so oh well, I did fascism, but it's a far-right authoritarian or ultranationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictator leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forceful suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy, subordination of individual interests for the perceived good of the nation or race, and strong regimentation of society and the economy, opposed to anarchism, democracy, pluralism, liberalism, socialism, and Marxism. Fascist is at the far right of the traditional left-right spectrum.
Communism.
I can go on, but oh, okay. Here's my Trump's fascism argument. All right, so some examples of that. He tried to overturn the 2020 election, replacing the majority of federal government with loyalists. That's going on right now. Supreme Court is given as much power as possible to the executive branch. Probably won't get through Congress. Why do I have that? Oh, currently most of the things that he's talking about doing requires change in law that he won't get through Congress. So he needs the executive branch to have as much power as possible to be able to do all the things he wants to do. He's either creating loyalist or loyalty in state governors or completely
Or bullying.
yeah, I mean bullying.
Circumstances that he has them by the balls.
Exactly. There was one the other day where he was talking to one of the governors and he was saying, you better abide by like no women in sports thing. And she
Forgot about
she
that
said
one.
something about like it's not constitutional for their state constitution right now. And he was like, you better do it or you're not gonna have any funding. Like that's what it is. He bullies them into do it when they say that they won't do it. He says that he's gonna withhold funding. That is not constitutional. He's also an expansionist from Canada is going to become our 51st state.
And Greenland.
Buying Greenland,
Mhm.
taking back the Panama Canal. What's the other? Oh, turning Gaza into a resort. It's just extremely dangerous. This is the same kind of thought that Hitler had. The same thing that Russia is trying to do, starting a war with Ukraine to have more land.
To reunite the Soviet Union. That's
based on that, I think Trump thinks that Russia has a legitimate claim to Ukraine because they did break off and they got their independence in 91.
What's the time limit on that? I would ask him, how long do you have to be independent to remain independent? Does
Oh,
does that go back forever? Because should we just give Britain a call real quick and be like,
right.
"Hey,
You guys want us back?
you were once, like,
Exactly.
come on." It's where whatever's convenient is now what he believes or what makes sense for him, and it's always been that way. He was a fucking Democrat in the '90s. Can you stop? Like, do we actually
And
think
pro-choice.
yeah, 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 I'm pro-choice. Now he's the guy that says, "Hey, I got rid of abortion." Do we really think he has the capacity to have our interests anywhere near his dealings? Couldn't care about his own state, family, anything. Like,
I don't even understand what's the point. I mean, land mass doesn't equate dominance anymore. Money and power does. So
the
I'm not sure
ability
why he has.
the ability to do that.
So it's just flexing your power because you have the ability to take what you want.
Yeah, and where does
That's what
that stop? Because then if you turn to your neighbor and you go, "Hey, neighbor, I really need all those resources you have," the neighbor's gonna be like, "Well, fuck, probably gonna be at my doorstep if I don't give them what they want." It's a
yeah.
power grab.
The sad thing is we have more leverage with our allies. So I guess if you still want to say Russia isn't our ally, but Canada is, like that kind of mindset, we have more leverage on Canada than on Russia because Canada actually depends on us. Their trade, their economy is tied to ours. So we could like squeeze the juice out of Canada, which is I just don't even understand how we've gotten to this side of history, dude. But we're like, oh, okay, let's Russia be our ally. And then we'll squeeze our actual fucking allies like Canada and shit. The same thing is happening because of this NATO shit. Trump wanted to pull us out of NATO, which
Mhm.
is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And it's basically just a military alliance between Europe and North American countries that work together and just say that we protect each other. If another country is going to attack one of the countries within NATO, we say we're basically all going to help each other and fight. So it makes everyone within it very strong. To be honest, it's not much without the US. We have the largest military, we have the most funded military. We are the big dog, so to speak. And Trump tried to unilaterally pull us out of NATO, which he can't do, but he can completely undermine it just by saying that he doesn't want to be part of NATO.
Right.
Like being part of NATO is basically asking, will the US come to the defense of me if I'm attacked? Well, clearly the answer is fuck no. We won't.
Or we want that answer to be no as soon as we can get it there.
He literally does control the military. He
I know.
actually is the chief of the military.
Can't pull out of NATO, but you can certainly not send troops.
Exactly. So you've just completely undermined the entire premise of what NATO is just by saying that. You don't actually have to take us out of NATO
Yeah.
to know that no country believes that we're going to help them. So, and then even like Ukraine not being part of NATO, they've been trying for years to be part of NATO, and Russia has just been keeping them out of it. They've been using their power and influence to keep them out of NATO. So now they're not protected in that way.
Of course they would. Look at what they did.
Dude, what a roller coaster of emotions this has been. Like, I've been like, "Oh, but let's be on their
I
side."
know.
Like,
I know. I've been a Pollyanna
uh,
too. Both been Pollyanna and, desperate at one point.
are we going through all the stages of grief every episode? Like,
I
do
think
we have
I
to
think
do?
so. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Although I don't know that we've done denial. I feel like we jumped right into, like, knowing this is happening.
Yeah. What do we have to get to?
Acceptance.
Bargaining? Oh, fuck. Acceptance. I don't know. It's gonna be a tough one.
I don't know that that should be the goal in this particular scenario. Ugly. I'm scared. Should we, like, move somewhere?
Oh, I've looked into moving. Belgium was my first choice just because I've been to Belgium so many times. I
Yeah.
say so many times, 3, but I loved all 3. Like, best trip, best food, best beer, just chill fucking people. They're cool. So anyway, I looked into it, and you have to live and work there for 5 years before you can apply for permanent residency. you have to learn their language, which I thought was interesting. Like
That
most of these places speak English. And somewhere like Belgium, you have a choice of like 3 different languages. It's like Dutch, German, French. I think you could learn any of those. So, yeah, I was looking into it. I don't think it would be a bad idea. And
Yeah, but, like, what would you do for a living? Like, can we work for the US and live somewhere else? I feel like the people who are
that
trying to
was the
do
thing
that.
though. I was like, you have to work for Belgium
Right.
for 5 years. So I was like, oh shit, I can't because technically I have a US job.
Yeah, but not Belgium. There are places that you can work in the US and live there. There's, like, really complicated tax structures or
And
our actions have so many consequences that I don't know that anywhere is safe. Where would we go that would be unaffected by this dynamic? Honestly, maybe I'd rather be behind the bully with the nukes in that war.
right.
I don't you know what I mean? Like, it's fucked
I
up
said this
because
I jokingly said the same thing when you talked about, like, being in a blue state and I'm in a red state. I'm like, "Dude, honestly, like, I'm probably safer in a red state because I know
Mhm.
my state's gonna get funded if we have a fucking hurricane." You know what I mean? Like, his
I know,
first go-to is withhold funding.
because that's what he has to exercise power. That's it.
Yeah. There are some fucked up things happening in red states with abortion, though. Did you see
Mm,
South Carolina bill that well, first off, they have a 6-week abortion ban. Honestly, I think a lot of people don't understand how time in a pregnancy works.
right,
So,
right.
even at day 1 is the day you get your period because that is the only day that is consistent for everyone. So, day 1 is
Mhm.
always the day you get your period because it's a different length or comes at a different time or ovulation's a different length of time for everyone. So, day 1 is your period. And then weeks later, you can get pregnant. If you have a period that comes regularly on schedule and you know that that day you didn't get it, then maybe you know at 4 weeks that you're pregnant. But if you're most people just living life, you're gonna be like, "Oh, shit, was I supposed to get my period last week? I don't know. Well, maybe it'll come next week." Well, you're too late. By the way, you will have had to get an appointment and actually have an abortion within those 2 weeks, so good luck with that too. It's impossible.
Well, that's the
It's an
point.
impossible thing at 6 weeks. So just prefacing with that, South Carolina bill, if they deem a woman miscarried on purpose, she can go to jail for murder. If
Um,
they determine that. So if she goes, I don't know, she fucking jumps on a trampoline or goes horseback riding or something, she's gonna go to jail for killing a person. What are we doing?
wow, that's why I was educated.
That's where you were educated? Oh, yeah. Yeah, go Gamecocks.
Well, disgusting. I hadn't heard that.
This is why, like, representation is so important. You
It's
cannot put
unbelievable.
people in the house that do not represent your best interest. We'll save representation and all of that shit and the control that those other people have on who are supposed to be your representatives for another episode. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, stay tuned for all the positivity we've been putting out today. We need to do a
Well,
lighthearted episode. What the fuck?
we're definitely due for a lighthearted one just because I need it. Like I don't
I know.
fucking
I don't even know if it has to be lighthearted or if it just doesn't like, not politics. We can do relationships between heterosexuals and lesbians and the differences between those, and we could probably laugh for hours about that. And then we could tell the stories. It'll be funny and serious, probably, depending on where we're at. But
as long as the gay community can deal with all my gay jokes.
I think they'll take the support where they
They
can get it. At least I will.
I don't even know how to take it myself. Like, I can do it with you because I'm actually like, we have that relationship, we've gotten to that
Mhm.
point, but I can't do it with, like, strangers are gonna be like, "Who is this bitch?"
Well, we also have to set the context for whoever might see it that this was 20 years ago, where just generally the jokes were probably more accepted in spaces than they would be now. So, one. And two, I'm not especially offended by gay stuff. If you go after someone else for being gay, like, I am not
My jokes are
you,
like going after people.
not you. I meant some, like, if I heard it in public and it was
Oh,
shaming like a gay kid, I would laugh and I would have quite the reaction to it. But like, if you're coming at me, even if I don't know you, I'm gonna laugh. Like, I think it's
yes.
funny. But I also think that that comes with living this way for so long. Like, okay,
Yeah.
what are you gonna say that I haven't heard?
If you
Yeah.
were ever offended with them, I would not do them. Like,
Yeah.
that's just I would know. I think even the carpet joke, I laughed about
It's
that
so
inside,
funny.
and
It's
you were like, "What?" And I was like, "I can't say it. I can't say it. I cannot even tell her this joke I just thought." I was afraid that you would take it offensively, and not find it funny.
I did not.
So are you gonna tell these people the joke?
Oh, are we doing this now? I thought we were talking about doing this at a later date. I've already said this joke, okay, on this podcast, and she cut it out.
So, since Christina is gonna keep telling the joke until I leave it in an episode, just get it out.
Will lead into our conversation next week about how I've had to deal with Frances's heteronormativity and all of her sassy jokes that she thought were funny. So, as you all know, we worked at Best Buy together. Maybe less commonly known, we both drove Jettas. So we would always park next to each other because we would have the same shift because at once upon a time, she was my boss and made my schedule. And so we worked all the same schedules. Yeah, Carol, that's what we did. That was our boss. That was a total twat. So anyway, we would have the same shifts and we would drive into work together and we would park our Jettas right next to each other. And I was moving from one apartment to another. I hadn't unpacked my car by the time I had to go to work. So I had an area rug rolled up and Jettas are small, right? So it's like laid in my back seat, like hitting me in the face, right? Like trying to drive. We're walking into work. And
I'm dying laughing at nothing because this is all just played out in my head.
so I forced it out of her. She said, she goes, "Why do you have carpet in your car? In case you get hungry?" Because I'm a carpet muncher. It's not even funny. People are watching this and they're going like, "That's not that funny," right? Like it's because
Or I
it's
saw
not.
where this was going 10 minutes ago, guys.
Yes. I think it was funnier to me that you thought that you couldn't say that to me.
Yeah.
But it is funny. It's stupid. You could have just called me a carpet muncher. You didn't have to do it through a joke. But like, and back then I was really proud of any title. So I'd have taken it. Anyway, we have stories like that and so many more from our 20 years together. I think the message is if we want to get serious for like a second, at least to me, is like, you're right. Like our relationship is what made that okay. Like, if some like gross dude that I didn't know said that, I'd be like, ew. And I don't know what I would have done. But like,
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't have laughed. I would have shamed him the best way I could. So relationships, I do think space and relationships matter a ton, and intent. Right? It's what the relationship is giving you is an understanding of that person's intent. That's
Yeah.
all.
For
So
me, it's definitely intent. Because
yeah,
even times where I think people that are close to me and stuff will say a joke, and I know their intent is to actually dig in a little bit,
yeah,
And I'm still like, "Fuck you," in that moment, even though you're my sister, like, "Fuck you."
I get that.
So intent is definitely the
Yeah,
main thing that matters
of
for
course
me.
it is. And listen, I this is a caveat I need for you to hear, and I need for all of our 12 listeners to hear. This is I cannot be unilateral forgiveness for you. So if something comes out
I know.
in this episode and you get
I
shit
know.
for it, you
I
gotta
gotta
take
take
it.
it.
You gotta take it on
Mhm.
the chin.
Yep.
And I'll probably get shit for having unilaterally said that it was okay 20 years ago. But either way, we'll take our shots as they come from all 13 guests on our podcast. Or wow. Speaking of guests, is she coming? Did we
I don't know. The more I've thought about it, the more I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Because, I mean, we
And it
are
depends
2
on my mood.
people,
If she came today, we probably could have had a pretty decent dialogue.
right? Yeah, I think so.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. So you gotta go hang out with your people at work
I
again
do that.
this
I
week.
do that at
And
least 50
then
hours a week. Yeah.
okay, and then come back.
I will go to work each day,
Okay,
come back
good.
here on Sunday and see how I feel.
Like I said, I always try to understand the other perspective, at the very least, to try to make it make a little sense to me. So I think it would be good to have her on.
Okay. Do you want to make me questions that I have to stick to?
Well, I don't know that we would want it to be like a debate space.
How is it not going to turn into a debate space?
I think naturally it'll turn into a like conversational debate, but not one where like I say a statement and then
Oh, I
you
was just, yeah.
argue
I was just kidding. No.
opposing, and she already like not like
Yeah.
not like a literal debate space. But I could get topics from both of you, just to be fair, and then give you both topics, and then
No.
you can speak.
Have her bring her topics. I don't need to see them in advance.
I would imagine there's going to be stuff just like when my brother and I talk,
Eh?
you agree or you have the same thought. It's just slight differences on
Sure.
what our end goal might be. All right,
I
cool. I will talk to her. We shall see.
Is this next week? Next weekend? See,
Actually, I have family here both weekends.
You want some time alone doing a podcast with a friend so you don't have to do all that? Maybe it'll be with
Yeah.
this guy.
Ooh, sexy.
I look like Rocco. I look like my nephew.
Oh, I was gonna say, did you give your alternate persona a name?
Yeah. Everybody, meet Rocco. He'll be on the show next week.
I am
so
going
funny.
to send you this chick's Instagram. And I go into the comments and like everyone has said it, like, oh shit, I think I just turned lesbian or something. All the comments, and I'm like, okay, good, it's not just me. This just happens to be the kind of person that every woman is attracted to for some reason.
Right now, let's do a reaction reel.
All right. Let me check TikTok real quick.
I downloaded TikTok for one reason, and that's because I have a really annoying coworker, shout out Carrie, like sends me shit from TikTok, and she's like, "You have to download it because you can't see what I'm sending you." And I didn't want to hear her mouth anymore, so I downloaded it.
Go Carrie. That's how you do it. You bully her into it. All right, I cannot find it.
I was about to tell you about my scotch and soda experience, but you were there with me. Do you wear those?
Oh no. I've done the opposite of what I was supposed to do. They're even tighter now than when I tried them on, which was too tight.
Were the ones that I had too big? It was like a Goldilocks experience?
It was a Goldilocks experience, but now those would probably be better.
Okay, well, those are getting too big on me. You want to do a Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants exchange?
Dude, I don't even know if I can shift those things. They weigh like 100 fucking pounds. Why are they so heavy?
I think the same thing every time I wear them. Yeah, no, I wear those things all the fucking time. I think they're the coolest jeans I've ever seen in my life. Love them. But you're going to be miserable wearing those in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Those are winter jeans for you.
I didn't notice it really when I bought them, but I was folding them and putting them up in the closet, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I was like, Andy, fill these pants, dude. Like, I had to get him to, like, weigh them. You should weigh yourself, put the pants on, and then weigh yourself. Like, see, you probably
how much they actually weigh?
10 pounds they probably add to you.
So never wear those to the doctor's office. Check.
Right?
Oh my
Dude,
God.
every time I go to the doctor's office and they weigh me, I'm like, can I put down my bag and my keys and my phone and take off my shoes, please? Why do you have to weigh all of this? There's not even a table for me to put this shit on. This is at least 5 pounds more.
You know, healthcare is predominantly female. You know what you're supposed to do for another female in that situation. You take her bag, you hold her coat, you take her shoes off yourself. Okay? That's how women support each other. Okay? That's how women
support. The way we do it. That's how we make a difference together. Or just ask me my weight, dude. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Is I just got down to the weight that I always say that I am.
Nice.
Like, I wasn't ever going to tell I'm 120 pounds. Like, this was what I thought people could believe I would be. That's where I am now.
So now do you start telling people you're like 10 pounds less or?
No, because I'm not ashamed anymore. So.
Oh, nice. Well, good for you.
I don't know what 120 pounds would look like, but.
Yeah, I would never be a 120-pound person.
Cannot imagine what kind of dark-eyed, gawky person that would be looking at you right now. You didn't find that Instagram thing you were supposed to send me? You were supposed to find it now for a reaction reel.
You know, I can't find it.
You turned everyone gay, then I don't need any other. I don't need any other.
You gave me a name. You said a lot of people like
Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose. How did you know that?
I mean, she's hot, but
yeah, that's her. Yeah, and she's got the hair.
Actually, she didn't have short hair back when it started.
Yeah,
she was on Orange Is the New Black. Everybody freaked out when she was.
Oh, she was.
That's when the straight people found out about her. She was always a queer thing. She looks hot no matter what haircut she has. It's not like...
I know. Sometimes she looks more, feminine. Mm-hmm. Sometimes she's just in a t-shirt showing off her tattoos and shit. That's the Ruby I like.
The titty pic?
I mean, that's not bad, but that's not my, here.
Oh, yeah, please, find me the picture.
Okay, so, right here.
Oof, she's good there.
She looks really feminine. She's super pretty. Mm-hmm. But...
Super.
But here's my Ruby. This I want rolled up T-shirts,
Go down.
tattoos.
Oh,
You
there you
know?
go. You got it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I was going more here. It's like the androgyny thing that I love. Oh, hang on, dude. I'm like 99. I don't know how to do this shit. Okay. This one. Like, she's gay and
Yeah.
dirty and hot and just looks right through you, you know? I feel like she's just a beautiful woman. What I find most attractive is like, yes, perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
sexy as hell. That, right? Like,
But this could be Ruby or this could be Justin Bieber. You know, same exact photo.
you're not wrong. I think that's what I like about it. Like, if you can look at that, and maybe not the Justin Bieber part, but if you can look at that and be like, that's either a really hot dude or a really fucking hot woman, like, that's really cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's really sexy. And it makes it more sexy to me because men will be averse to that. Like, the picture that you showed, that she's just stunning. Like, anybody you could show a fucking gorilla and he would, like, jack off. Like, she's just gorgeous. It doesn't matter. Like,
I just imagine a gorilla jacking off, and I'm like, oh, he'd do it right in front of you too. He wouldn't even care.
pictures like that, like, I don't know that a guy's gonna be like, "Damn, Justin Bieber?" No, right? But, like, I can do that because it's so fucking hot because it could be either, or anything, or whatever. It's just hot, and I
Yeah.
love that, and that's sexier to me than, like, something everybody would find sexy.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Point made. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish upon a star that I would look like that. But, yes, the hair is right.
When you have her haircut next week, you'll look just like her.
Oh, it's not next week. Come on now. She's so cute, but she also looks like she's
Cool.
happy and kind and cool.
Fun. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that helps.
This could definitely be Justin Bieber.
That is Justin
Wow.
Bieber.
It is?
No.
I know. Like, I had a second look, it was so close. But knowing that it's not Justin Bieber makes it hotter. The idea that she's female and looks like that is so much hotter. Right? That's how she identifies?
Yeah.
I think? Yeah. With
Yeah,
that.
she's Australian, right? I think she hosted the Challenge Australia.
Yeah, she's a celebrity, like a what do they call that? Like a Mario Lopez?
VJ?
Kinda. Yeah.
I remember MTV VJs kind of being a thing. I don't know. What do you call game show hosts?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, next week, relationships.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll try to be in a positive space.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye. All right. Bye.